Okay, guys, come on. Let's give him a chance before we start calling him Mazepin.
What is that? He wasn't any near anyone.
Never mind. Hello and welcome to the very first Your F1 comments for the 2021 season. This is the series where I delve into the top, the best, the funniest, and sometimes the worst comments underneath the official highlight videos of the Formula 1 Grand Prix just gone. And oh boy, were the comments out in full force today from that Bahrain Grand Prix, because one man, Nikita Mazepin, eloquently, after only 2 corners of the entire Grand Prix, spun out and had a DNF. 2 corners.
What are you playing at? What are you doing?
Netflix were apparently filming with Bottas and Mercedes maybe this weekend, according to their social media, but can you imagine if they were filming with Haas?
Now we are a fucking bunch of wankers.
One great comment summed that scenario up perfectly. 5 minutes into Drive to Survive Season 4. You know, we've been waiting all season. The winter has come and gone from 2021 into 2022, Episode 1, and 5 minutes in, it's going to cut to Gunther just shouting, "I can't fucking believe it." Or believe it, Gunther, drink it in, because you potentially got 22 races. 22! With a man whose name rhymes with frying pan. Pretty sure that's exactly what he was doing, frying his rear tyres on the exit of turn 2. Fun fact of the day brought to you by one of the comments, the safety car actually did more laps of Bahrain than Mazepin. Can we just deep that for a second? Bert Mylander completed more laps around Turkey in the Grand Prix than Mazepin did. What a great way to start your career in Formula 1, crashing out in qualifying and on the first lap of the race. And this comes after he apparently came out and maybe said that cliche phrase a lot of drivers say, "We're here to win," but then he goes on to spin without even touching anyone. You can't be coming out with phrases like that, no matter how cliche they are for F1 drivers. You can't be coming out and saying that, and then you don't even physically make it past lap 1 of the Grand Prix. I think the literal reaction for a lot of us to that happening was, as one person put, the Jeremy Clarkson meme.
Oh no. Anyway, last week...
Before we do move on, I of course want to say, just before anyone butts in with, us kind of making a joke out of it, obviously initially, when he did crash, I think a lot of us can agree, we all had kind of Vietnam PTSD flashbacks from what happened with Grosjean at Bahrain last year, but as soon as you knew it was fine and he just, simply crashed out of the race, got out of the car, and that was it, you can't help but laugh, especially because it is him after everything that has surrounded him going into this F1 season. And before we move on to the rest of the race and the other drivers, of course, the top comment of this entire Bahrain Grand Prix highlights comment section of the video, which really did tickle me, was, fun fact of the day, Mazepin has completed more formation laps than race laps in Formula 1. I mean, it's just a bit, he is the formation. He has spent more time forming his race than actually doing the race. That's actually literally the definition of ambitious but rubbish. You've planned out everything, you've formed the grid, and then bap. You made a house out of a deck of cards, and it's been blown away straight away by the first gust of wind. To be fair, that's probably what he's going to blame it on, looking at the way he kind of spun off on the left. The main focal point of the race, of course, was Hamilton v Verstappen, and we're all hoping Max and Lewis can be that close together and have battles like that throughout the season, because it was great. I said it in my race reaction, I'll say it again, a great line by Martin Brundle. The familiar it may be a familiar podium, but the way we got it was quite something. It was so tense for those last laps. There was a bit of a dodgy moment, of course, when Max overtook Hamilton off circuit and questions came in about the FIA's ruling of track limits, but after the race was over, it's pretty much been sorted out that it was still in the rules that you can't simply make a pass or defend off circuit. The track limits was an entirely different thing, and they're not actually connected. Passing or defending a driver off circuit is an entirely different part of the rule book compared to just simply gaining some time by extending the track. That's an entirely different part of the regulations, and that was in itself a bit of a grey area. It seemed like essentially the FIA said, unlike qualifying and practice, you can extend turn 4 as much as you want. We're not going to kind of monitor it. Hamilton took that to the literal limit with Mercedes. Eventually, Red Bull told Max to do the same thing. So eventually, Red Bull and Merc were doing the same thing with Hamilton and Verstappen. Then, halfway through the race, the FIA then thought, you know what, I think these two are extending it a bit too much. So let's rein it in. And so halfway through the race, they were reminded or kind of told the teams that they can't do that. And so, you know, both Hamilton and Verstappen were told to kind of cut it back to what it was in kind of qualifying, you know, where they're kind of on the curb but not fully away. But that kind of thing of just doing it in the middle of the race, it's just typical FIA and F1 shithousery. It really is. Away from track limits, one comment pointed out nicely that it's going to be really nice to see Mercedes strategists versus Red Bull strategists, because when Ferrari were at the sharp end, it really just did seem like they were just winging it. They were just hoping that the car had the overwhelming pace to do whatever they were going to do. So no matter how badly they messed up the strategy, the car was just quick enough to deal with it. But now we've actually got some genuine, actual number crunching going on with Mercedes and Red Bull. And it's going to be interesting because Mercedes have made some mistakes in the past under pressure. Red Bull equally sometimes been too ambitious or just haven't known the right way to go. And they've had to kind of almost luck into, you know, Max being quick enough on a certain tyre. So it's going to be quite interesting to see those two teams in a different way. Just not with the drivers, with the actual strategists being pushed to the limits of what seems to be the best way to go about it. Especially when we get to tracks where necessarily maybe the overtaking isn't as easy, and it really is going to be down to the pinpoint strategy. That's going to be quite interesting over the course of the season if Red Bull can keep up pace. And that gets us on to another top comment, that if Verstappen and Perez can race like that all year, it should be a very competitive season. And that's the thing. Like Max said post-race, it's a bittersweet end, but the important thing is Red Bull genuinely looked quick now versus Mercedes. So here's hoping we can have races where they're just ending 0.7 seconds behind each other all the time. Like, how crazy would that be? And I'm mentioning Perez there, obviously the second driver in Red Bull this year. It was a mega drive for him, and the love was out in the comments as well, with 3.1k likes on someone saying no one is talking about how Perez was technically last. Well, even more than that, really, if you think about it, because it was a pit lane start. I know he obviously then kind of was last with the safety car and jumped up a bit there, but he was at the start, well and truly starting in the pit lane, and he ended up in P5. So it was a really mega drive. You know, I think if he and RB don't have another blunder in qualifying, if he's right up there in, you know, minimum P4 even in qualifying, I think it means there's no doubt now that Perez will actually be a proper threat to Mercedes, and I'm hoping a threat to Max in a few races to actually go for a race win. It'd be great to see Checo actually racing for race wins out and out with Max as well, and obviously with the Mercs in tandem. But that's going to be really interesting. But it was you know, he can be so proud of that drive, and it was a really mega one, and showing why Red Bull have signed him, because he was making the moves count when he had to. Moving on though, and it is officially Yuki Tsunoda season, spelt with a hard SZN. One comment said, hats off to Tsunoda for a 9th place finish against this absolutely stacked grid. That's extremely impressive considering it was his first ever F1 race. I might add, also got caught up in a bit of a kerfuffle at the start, really. Lost some positions because of that whole Gasly off and the general chaos at the start of the Grand Prix. It's his rookie debut. He made a dive bomb on Alonso, and it made it seem like he was just having a Sunday drive stroll. It was just so calm and smooth, like, and he was so sure of himself. Like, honestly, yeah, it was such an impressive debut. And I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say I think we've all got to just get ready for Yuki to undoubtedly become the 2022 World Champion. It's booked in. It's going to happen. I don't make the rules. It's already booked in, though. Talking about people in the midfield, it's got to be said that, as it was pointed out in a comment, Alfa Romeo have really made a big step up this year. And I really hope they can continue to improve and actually get stuck in to the midfield fight. They've definitely made a massive step in this first race. And so you would hope that's a platform for them to just go and do better things. Because as someone else pointed out, it's a tasty year, you know, for the season ahead. We've got Mercedes v Red Bull, McLaren v Ferrari, Aston v Alpine v AlphaTauri, and maybe Alfa Romeo as well now in there. And then it's Haas v Haas. Just a battle to see if they can simply finish a race, you know. But with many, many changes maybe for this season ahead compared to the last, some things are just always constant in Formula 1, as it would seem. As someone did point out, Hamilton said, I'm really glad for having Max as a true rival this season. Bottas cries in a corner. And with that, that is going to be it for your F1 comments for the 2021 Bahrain Grand Prix. Guys, if you did enjoy this one, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Any improvements? I would love some feedback on the series, of course, because we're still developing what the hell this style of video is, basically. But you guys seem to enjoy the energy that I brought in the testing one. Hopefully, you did enjoy this one as well, equally. But let me know in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.